What does it take to buy a six-figure niche website business? Hi, I'm Jaryd Krause, host of the Buying Online podcast, and today I'm speaking with Devin, who is a Buying Online Businesses community graduate who decided to buy his first website business. He used to be a professional sports player and coach and is now in the business of investing into cash flowing assets and scaling them to build a portfolio of online businesses. In this podcast episode, Devin and I speak about why he wanted to move into the online business space and how he was actually skeptical at first, how he found out about this about 2 years ago with a specific broker, didn't understand it, went away and came back later to buy his first business. We also talk about what he did before buying a business, and he had a very good career, of course, and then what were the little things that he was nitpicking in at that he wanted to have a better lifestyle after his career and how he's able to achieve that. We also talk about what he found hard about buying a website through going through the journey and things that you can look out for when you're going through the journey of buying your first site. We also talk about what he got the most out of the journey, right? What was the most beneficial thing for him and how was he able to get results by harnessing that. We also talk about the websites that he looked at and why we disqualified so many of those businesses and what those businesses actually look like so you can disqualify them yourself as well. We also talk about the business he bought and why it's a great business and what you should be striving for and when buying your own business too. We also dive into the relationship that he built with the seller and how him building a relationship with the seller has helped him a lot after the purchase of the business. And then we move into his goals of building his portfolio and what he wants that to look like. Now, in this podcast episode, Devin and I talk about a lot about buying a business, and we talk about due diligence. Now, you can't buy a business, or you definitely should not buy a business without doing due diligence. And I have my due diligence framework that many of my clients use to go away and take the guesswork out of buying businesses, and you can have it for free. You can go to buyingonlinebusinesses.com/free resources, and you can download that and you use it yourself. I even run through with you in a video how to use that framework, and there's other awesome free resources on that page you can check out too. For now, let's get stuck into this episode with myself and Devin. Do you want to build or grow your content website? Niche website builders have helped hundreds of people to take their content websites from a few $100s per month to over tens of thousands of dollars per month with crafted content creation, buying aged domains, and link building strategies. These strategies have helped people increase their traffic, authority, monthly earnings, and their website valuation too. Head to nichewebsite.builders/BOB/ to get 10% off any link building or 10% more from their content creation services. That's nichewebsite.builders/Bob/. I'll put a link in the description too. Devin, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to be on today.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Good to break this down. We chat a lot, but not really about the process. Like we haven't broken down the process because I've been in it with you of buying your first site. But I wanted to start from the beginning. Why? Like the main question I ask everyone is like, why? Why buy an online business, or what was your motivation for making income online, if that was a thing? Like, what was your motivation around this?
I just think like after everything I've tried, it made the most sense. What I was looking for was flexibility, being able to work and kind of move around how I wanted to, as a person. I have a family, so wanted to be present daily, be able to have that opportunity. So when I found out about, the possibility of even making money online and owning websites, it intrigued me immediately.
Yeah, cool. How did you find out about this? Did you come across like maybe you'll make some income online from starting a business, or like how did you get to the route of going, oh, I might buy one and then jumping in the community and doing so?
It was random. I explored the possibility of owning, brick and mortars and franchises, and it was actually close to, getting into that space before COVID kind of shut everything down in 2020. So that made me want to look at other options. Just randomly, I was on YouTube one day and one of your videos popped up, and I watched one, I watched a couple more, and I became like interested. So, and it's funny because I had ran across Empire flippers before, I guess maybe
Oh,
like 2 years ago, maybe. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, are people really paying this, or are people really, having businesses online? I just didn't know. Didn't have the knowledge to really move forward. So I kind of just stayed away.
yeah, right. Wow. Okay. So you were looking at buying an offline business, a franchise, right? And so that was what, pre-COVID or during COVID, or tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was pre-COVID. It started out like late 2019, like fall, winter, and it was moving along pretty well. And it was actually close to closing the deal. And then, things shut down in March of 2020, and it just made the most sense to walk away from the deal. It was so much uncertainty surrounding, what's going to be open, what's not going to be
Mm.
open. How are we going to try to navigate this space that's new for me, with these limitations that, we just don't know about.
Yeah, wild times, wild times. I sold a business basically in March 2020, an ecom business that I was like, glad I'm glad I sold. Like, I didn't know COVID was because over in Australia we're pretty far, and it was an Australian ecom business. We're pretty far removed from what was really going on. And yeah, I got lucky selling at the right time. Yeah, but wild times. And I want to come back. I want to come back to at the end of our conversation, I guess, the difference between what you know now about possibly buying a franchise versus an online business, because I think you have some different insights now that you've gone through the process of buying one. So let's backtrack a bit more. You're like, yeah, I want to. I want to earn income so you can travel and be flexible with the family and all that sort of stuff still. So that's the main motivator. What were you doing prior to the whole let's try and buy a business, franchise, or online business?
Yeah, so I mean, I worked in professional sports, both abroad and here in the US. So I was involved in that for around 17 years, and really just kind of started, really, my mindset really started changing, with COVID, and this made me want to spend more time with my family. I devoted so much time to my profession as well as my family. But as my kids get older, I really wanted to be present daily. So I wanted to
Yeah.
have that option to be here or be wherever we wanted to be, together, and you know, just presented that opportunity. So that's really what made me kind of shift my focus to being, well, you know what, maybe I can create an income, find a good business, and move away into something else and possibly do things on my own terms. And if I want to get back into professional sports, then, that's what I can do, but on my own terms.
Yeah, cool. That's interesting to hear. I mean, it sounds like, was it basically from college, 17 years in pro sports? It sounds like you really got to see how it operates and what the limitations may be working in that industry that you don't want to have to subdue to in the future. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize like how much, you could say professional athletes, their schedule and their day to day is dictated, and
Mm.
I am kind of somebody that has devoted my time to that, on both sides, coaching and playing. And, I wanted to be in control of my day to day and not have somebody else, control that, because, sometimes it's short notice on when somebody wants you to be somewhere and what they want you to do, and it's sometimes there's no regard for your schedule or what you have going on personally.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. This isn't so much a business question. This is more about just life. How did your life change in terms of how you felt about life differently when you sort of ended pro sports and started doing your own thing? Like, what was good or bad about it for you? Because I'm I've had this happen in my life where I went from I need to be at the job site at this time, and I've got these responsibilities on the phone and off the phone. Yeah. And holding that accountability was like, and then shedding it was like, phew, it was a weight for me gone. But I'm curious, like, a different industry for you, like what did that do for you even before you bought a business, having
Yeah,
the
I mean,
control?
for me, I had took a year off in 2017 to 2018. From July of like 2017 to like June of 2018, I didn't do anything, and it was just kind of, decompressing. My family, we had just moved back permanently stateside. And I just needed that time, away from everything. So I kind of had a feeling of what it was going to be like. But for me, really, when I made the decision to stop and, kind of do my own thing, it really like made me buckle down and focus on like what I wanted, because I always had aspirations and things I wanted to do outside of sports, but I just didn't have the time, and I would just always put things off. I would focus on it for a couple weeks or a month or two, and then like something would come up and I'll just put it on the back burner. But I knew like if I wanted to
Yeah.
do this full time, I had to like stop that, at least, momentarily, in order to pursue what I really wanted to do online and
Yeah. Cool.
professionally, like away from sports. But it made me feel, it was a weight off my shoulders because it was something I always wanted to pursue. And once I finally made the
Mm.
decision, it felt good.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, some people, I think there's a big difference between somebody ending one thing and not having something to go on to. Like you've had this period of of time in your career where it sounds like you've wanted to do that stuff or do some things, but there's that the bigger project of the career has been more prevalent, and time and resources have gone towards that. But some people, I know that some people that have a career or a job or a life, whatever you want to call it, and then they just end it because they're done with it. But if they've got nothing to go on to, it's like it can be messy or hard for them. So it's good that you had that aspiration to move into something, whether it was going to be business or not. I think that's something important for people to understand. Like when you buy a business, what are you gonna like? I went and traveled straight away, right? What are you going to spend your time doing when you do have downtime, so you're not just going crazy and feeling non-productive and not feeling good about your life? I mean, you've got family, you can pour that straight
Yeah.
into that, which is awesome. So yeah, so let's move now into the buying phase. You discovered this random dude on YouTube, didn't know if he was a scammer or not. And then you went and sort of went through some stuff and built a bit of trust and went, all right, this could be the route. What happened from there, like in terms of learning? Like what were some of the best things that you learned through the community, I guess?
Yeah, this journey was pretty interesting to, move from, just watching videos to joining the community. And, like for me, the
Mm,
biggest thing was I didn't feel like I was being sold something. You're selling something, but not selling something, if you understand what I'm saying. Like you're
of course, yeah.
kind of like focusing on like the possibilities than like trying to sell somebody a product, which you run across a lot
Mm,
online. But, for me, the community was just like accountability, you know, like I'm used to being accountable, like, all right, you have a task, you need to get it done. And, being able to like have somebody to like nudge you along and say, you know what, you're headed in the right direction. It's going to take time. Um, I think that's the most valuable thing for me. And then to see other people's stories. You hear about other people, purchasing businesses and different types of websites in the community, and just also like just engaging in those conversations and seeing, some of their struggles and some of their wins. And, that really keeps you motivated to, keep pursuing what you want and being open to finding the right business for you. And I feel like that's what happened with me.
that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, it's sometimes for me, I forget that there are a lot of people that will listen to podcasts and watch YouTube videos and see people are buying a business. Cool. But that fear is still there of like, hang on, is this really like, are people actually buying businesses? Like, is this real? So I guess being at like some people I see when people join, not just yourself, but other people that join the group and are like, okay, we're celebrating somebody buying a business. They see these posts, they're like, oh, like this is like this is the thing now. Like it just goes, I'm in the right spot to make it happen because it is happening here. When you're on the outside, especially for me, not even seeing it, it's I can see that like, oh, is this really a thing? And buy flippers, all these other brokers, yeah, you can buy them, but people real like, is it really happening? Yeah. So what would be, let's talk about the process to honing in, I guess, on the right business for you. How did that evolve for you? What did you, when you came in to buy a site, did you know exactly what you wanted and did it change? And if so, why and how? Like, how did that evolve for you?
I didn't really have an idea what I wanted when I first joined the community, but I did know that I didn't want to have like drop shipping or e-commerce, anything like that. So like, I just
Mm.
didn't want to put in the work for that. Some people do, I didn't,
Yeah.
and it just seemed
Yeah.
like a lot of moving parts. And yeah, so as I'm watching the videos and just learning more about different types of businesses online and running across different ways things are monetized, um, it just allowed me to hone in and narrow in on what made the most sense for me. I didn't want to have to rely on sales to generate income, so finding a site that was focused on uh, display ads, income, just made the most sense. Of course, I do want some affiliate sales on my site, but I don't want that to be the priority. So that's kind of how I came to what I was looking for and how I navigated the process.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. To get there, how long how long was the journey of like joining to purchasing? How long was that?
I would say it was at least about 5 6 months. I
Yeah,
believe
okay.
I
Cool.
joined I joined around August, September at the latest, and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, and that ran up to end of January before I found something.
Yeah. Cool. Well, congratulations on buying a business. I want to dive more into that. It's been exciting. I know it's been an exciting thing for you watching the income every day and all that stuff. It's so cool. It's a really cool thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a process. Learned a lot, and it kind of moves fast when you're looking at good businesses. So you got to be prepared to put in the work and and make a decision pretty quickly. But it's been great. Finding what you want and seeing how it can grow and how it's monetized. And again, those earnings coming in every day, feels good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So people hear this and they go, all right, 5 6 months, I can buy a business within 5 to 6 months. A lot of people don't understand like you've got to put the work in, right? Like you've got to learn first. Learning how to do the due diligence is like going through all the videos, and then you're like, all right, like how long does that take? Experimenting with due diligence, and then once you start to get good at due diligence and you understand how to do it well, you've still got to submit a lot of due diligences to me to review, to
Yeah.
knock back many, for you to realize, well, why are these being knocked back and what does a good one look like? And it evolves into us buying the right one for you. Tell me about that, doing due diligence, and submitting it to review, and how many, roughly, do you know how many that you submitted and or did even without me knowing? Like, tell us a bit more about that, because that's the whole process, right? You said, wow, it's a process. So let's decompartmentalize that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, due diligence was overwhelming when I first looked at it on my own. I had no idea what was what. I was like, what is this? What is that? And I tried to fill in like two from a business I was looking at early on. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me just go back through the videos again and then figure it out
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
But I would say I probably submitted around 7 or 8 to you, but there was another 5 or 6 that I did on my own. At least 5 or 6 that I did on my own completely, like all the way through. I would say there was probably another 7 or 8 that I did, without, reaching the point of talking to the seller.
Yeah, that's it. Like myself personally now, is I don't talk to a seller unless I'm about 80% going to buy it, 80% chance of me going to buy it. But that has happened because of, well, how many businesses do you think I've looked at? I don't even know and done due diligence on. But as a beginner, I think it's good. I think it's good that you go through a lot and you get to the point that you need to speak to the seller, but don't. Because when you do go through a lot, it just, the more you do it, the quicker it allows you to realize, oh, like I can start to see, after looking at multiple, the more businesses you look at, you start to see the trends of a good one versus a bad one, right? Like what were some of the trends that you saw that you're like, I don't like this about the sites versus the ones that you're like, oh, this is what I do like about the sites.
Yeah, I think early on, I'd say I was confused because I would look at the revenue and look at the income coming in and say, you know what, this has to be a good business. It's making money. Let me look at it, and then I would I would send it to you, and you're like, nah, not that one. Let me show you why. But I think
Yeah.
early on, I just think the revenue split was leaning too much towards, like affiliate. I also think some of the websites that I looked at that weren't great were just like relying on, one single source of it was really single source dependent on maybe traffic, whether it was coming from Pinterest or, different social media
Mm,
platform. Um,
mm.
so that was something that I really learned because even though the revenue it might be doing great, if that one stream is cut off, then you're kind of stuck, with the dud. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like finding websites that just weren't focused on, one thing, that could really, if that goes away or if you get hit with a Google update and something goes wrong, then that one single source, you could be in trouble for a little while.
Yeah, that's it. And sometimes it's not recoverable, depending on the site, which is scary. The biggest thing that I see is when people are looking at a business and it's like that. I feel sorry for some people now, that I do when I do due diligence reviews, that I can be so transactional about it that I'm like, I forget how much work people have put into the business. And, like you said, you're like, but Jaryd, this is like, look at the traffic and look at the money it's making. And
Yeah,
like, it has to be good. It has to be good. And I'm
has to
like,
be
I
good.
just point out like this, yeah, it has to be good. I just point out
Yeah.
like why it's, I don't want to tell you, no, don't buy it. I sort of run you down the garden path. You discover, oh, I get it now. But forget that sometimes I'm pretty brutal with people that first come into the community. So those who are newbies, I apologize because I can just go like, just like stop, like let's just look at this and this is why. Um, but it's easy for me to see it because I see it constantly, and yeah, it would be, it would be tough being in the beginner phase of going through the due diligence as a newbie again. Um, that's the
It
hardest
was.
part, right? That's the part of, sorry.
Yeah, I said it was because I felt there were a few I felt good. I said, this has to be a good business. And by the time we got down to like off of one page, it was like, nah, let me show you this is not the business for you. You do not want this business.
Yeah.
It helped me though. It helped me moving forward, but it was straight to the point. And I was like, okay. After the first time, I was like, okay,
Mm.
I get it. It didn't bother me at all, but I went in with a different mindset every time I brought a new business in due diligence, I had a different mindset about it. I was like, well, let's see what he's going to think about this one. And I'm not going to lean too much into it because I think it's a good business, but let's just see if he feels it's a good business.
Yeah, that's good. You see, that's you identifying. I'm not gonna, when you say lean, that word makes sense to me as in, I won't get emotional about it, and
Yeah.
get excited about it. Let's first stay transactional about it, which I think is you. I think this process happens for some people in their heads. You've never had a conversation or articulated it before, but that is so damn critical about you picking up on that yourself. And I think if
Yeah.
investors can do that, I think that's what can make you a better business. Is you go like, I you know a lot of these businesses got knocked back by the due diligence we did, and I'm teaching you to learn how to see it. And then once you do it so many times, it becomes transactional. Like I said, I can be quite transactional. And I think that repetitiveness really helps you to disassociate with becoming emotional about it.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you articulated that and mentioned that, because I think that's the goal. Like that's the real goal to become a great investor.
Yeah, I mean, like when I missed out on the one business opportunity for the one website that we were looking at before, it didn't bother me at all. I said, okay, on to the next one. And that's when I really knew. I was like, okay, we're in a good space. The next one we find, we'll be prepared, to move on it quickly. I'll be prepared to move on it quickly. So it made me, be sharper and just be on more on top of things.
Yeah, great. And you were, you were like we had submitted some offers and got knocked back, and we're like,
Yeah.
what, or missed out. But yeah, tell me, I want to mention a little bit about the business figure wise, and then I would love for you to tell us a bit about why you like this business and why we went for this business, so people can sort of start to see, what does a good business look like. So roughly secured it for mid six figures, and roughly it's making what per month, just just under the 5 figure range per month.
Yeah, just under the five-figure range per month. It really stood out because it's in a niche in pets, evergreen,
Awesome niche.
and it had so many possibilities to build on. I felt like the content was really good. The articles were ranking really well for the domain ranking that it had. So I just felt like the possibility was really, really there to build on. It had good display ad revenue and not so much affiliate. Has some, but I really feel like you can kind of add more, and that will bump up the revenue as well. And just to
Mm.
produce content, people are always going to have pets. You know, they aren't really changing often. Pets don't change,
Yeah.
as often as some other things. So it's really, it's really content that sticks.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with the site you bought. It's such a good business. It really is. And the more that we look at it now, the more we're like even after due diligence, we're like, it's good. Like it's so solid. So tell us about, so to break it down, the hardest part was going through the process of doing due diligence. The good bit was getting that accountability and getting confirmation what's good versus bad in terms of a business. Now, zooming out, if you were to zoom out from where you're at right now, Devin, and you to think about
Hmm.
the franchise opportunity and where your life would be if you had bought the franchise versus where you're at now, where you're projected to go with this online business or a portfolio, what are you noticing? Like, where would you be with the franchise, and where would you be with where are we looking to get with the online business? What's the differences there, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, with the franchise, you don't really know because it's been so many struggles, with people finding workers. So, it could be a situation where I could be in the franchise actually having to work. That's not something I was looking forward to. um,
Oh, hell no.
yeah.
Flipping burgers.
So, so
Straight
it
from
was making.
straight from one sports career to for almost 2 decades to flipping burgers.
So yeah, I mean, it was something that I don't know. I think I would have figured it out, eventually. But moving into this online space, my goal is to have a portfolio of different websites. Right now
Cool.
it's it has me in a good space because again, it got me what I wanted. Just to be here every day, be present. So yeah, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm headed in the right direction. I found a really good website. The previous owner has been really helpful, really insightful, and he put a lot of time into building something good. So that's always a plus. To have that relationship, and he's
Mm,
been great. We actually spoke today, so he's been he's been great, and
great.
giving me some guidance on things he's done well, to help the site grow. Um, I think that'll prepare me moving forward. So when it's time to find another one, I'll be ready to go. I already have everything in place. Know what I want to do. Know what I'm looking for, and be ready to get the ball rolling immediately. I feel like I'm going through the learning process right now. When that learning process is over, I think I'll be, better at recognizing businesses and, running what I have.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it sounds like the relationship that you built with the seller has been very valuable. How did you go about that? How did you open up to building a relationship with them through the due diligence? What did that look like, and how did you connect? Like, what were some of the things that you think you did well?
Yeah, I mean, I think, just the call we had, just really making it personal. I really took the time to, show my appreciation for his time, telling me in depth about his business, and just really try to use that time to get to know him and his story and explain to him mine. You know, I feel like we made a good connection in that call, and I always, kept it, person to person. It's a transaction, but it's two people making the transaction. So I tried to focus on that. Once we were in negotiation, he really offered to, to help, for an extended period of time. And it was something that he, presented, So I feel like from there, our relationship has just grown, and he's been really helpful, through this process of, from migration to when I was in control and taking over everything.
Yeah, that's excellent. Like really good work on what I picked up there is focusing on his story, and connecting with his story. And that's a really good tip for people that wanting to build a relationship. Not just in not so you can make a transaction good, but just about actually wanting to connect and be a better human. I think that's really, really good advice there. So last thing is, yeah, you mentioned quickly, buying another one. What's your sort of end goal? What's the portfolio look like for you? Say in 5 years or 10 years time. What are you hoping to achieve here?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can, I'm looking to buy and grow and hold. I'm not really interested in, at least right now, trying to build to sell. I want to hold good websites, good quality sites that I can have for a long time. Hopefully I can, have two or three that are, in decent size. The one I have now is pretty good size for me. So even ones that have less traffic and less revenue, could possibly work as my second and third options, for sites and a portfolio. But two or three, would be great.
Cool. Well, congrats on buying your first business. This one is definitely one for a long term hold, if you wanted it to be. So I think it's a really good foundational investment for your portfolio. And yeah, looking forward to seeing more from you in the future. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Devin. Really appreciate it. And I know everybody else listening has too. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you having me on and allowing me to, share my process with everybody.
Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Hey YouTube watcher, if you thought that video was good, you should check out this video here on the 2 best types of websites beginners should buy. Or check out my playlist on how I made my first 100K from buying websites and how to do due diligence. Check it out. It's an awesome playlist. You'll enjoy it.